Welcome to a very special Nerds and Friends, interviewing my friend Sheldon Botler, who is a photographer extraordinaire, also actor and music producer. Ah, awesome. Well, it's great to hang out with you, man. I mean, the last time that we were working together was on the movie, Last Call in the Doghouse that we worked together. That's where we met on that movie set, right?
I think it was Journal for Jordan.
I don't
Was that the
think
one?
so. No, it was the one where we were guests at a wedding. Remember?
Oh my God. Yeah, 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 yeah.
I haven't
God, that
seen the
courtyard
movie.
was really beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great location, but I haven't seen the movie. I've seen the trailer. It looks very strange, but
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah. There's a
Oh,
nice
that's
little
so
scene in the
yeah.
trailer where you can see me and you in there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, just us sitting at the wedding. It's awesome, man.
Let's go.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad we're connecting because I've been following you on social media since we met on that movie way before the pandemic, and I love how you are killing it in the photography business, man.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of start off asking, first off, to everyone listening. I mean, I'm sure when we edit this together, I'll be showing some of your photographs that you send me to put on here. But for those listening, go to Sheldon Botler, BOTLER.com, because your website, I mean, I was checking it out before the podcast. Like, you have so many cool things. I mean, you're doing headshots, like artistic portraits, weddings, and other special events. Like, how did you get to where you're really doing this on the regular, man?
Well, first off, thank you so much. Oh my God, I feel like so spoiled right now. Um, this has been a constantly transforming journey where I started with my camera shooting YouTube videos for me as a musician. I quickly
Nice.
got bored with that, and then I moved to concerts because I loved seeing music. I was a musician myself, and I wanted to give away free photos to then get friends in the music industry. That was my whole aim. I'm like, dude, forget the photos. I need the way in.
Yeah.
And then I fell in love with the craft, and every day I'm learning something new that makes me want to shoot weddings, real estate, food photography, anything where I can control light and create art with my camera. I get super excited. And now I'm really excited about teaching as well.
Oh, so you're helping
Yeah,
other people learn, kind of share your love for photography and learn to emulate the technical skills you've acquired by pursuing this, right?
exactly.
Oh,
And
that's so cool.
I find it so beautiful that we live in a time where even YouTube is a bit outdated now, because before you had to watch a 40-minute video to kind of get to the meat of an idea. And now with the shorter content, everyone's going, here's what I'm trying to teach you: concise, to the point,
Yep.
and very, very little fluff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want people to be able to fast track their way through all the nonsense on the internet and just get to creating.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. No, it's great because, I remember back in the day when I was trying to learn video editing stuff, you had to sit through someone talking about, well, this is my journey to video editing. I'm like, I'm trying to learn how to change the frame rate. Like, don't tell me about that. And
Right.
so, yeah, no, that's awesome. I love that. Yeah, you could just, there's such a wealth of information, but knowing where to get it. And I love that you can provide that with the focus of, hey, I'm sure you know what you want to do creatively. Here's how you get there?
Hmm.
So, talking about, I love the way you worded that it was, using light to create art is kind of your work. Like, what's been
Hmm.
the most challenging setup you've had for a photo shoot so far, and how you got the most rewarding art out of that based on all the different variables you had to juggle?
Mm. So in general, the most difficult thing is nighttime backyard parties.
Ah,
Uh, for those of you who are listening, what that usually looks like is there's a house and a forest on the other side, and people will do these really cute, like 40-watt dim lights where you can barely see the person in front of you, so your camera really can't see anything. And then if you use a flash, you either have to crank up your ISO and get this grainy visible background or light the entire scene. So I've come up with this very fun technique where if someone has a home with white walls on the exterior, I'll set up a light on the opposite side that shoots to the house. And now the entire face of the house becomes the modifier. And then
nice.
I'll shoot on the opposite side of that and use my flash. So now you've got either side or front lit subject, and then me using my camera flash as either the fill or a kick light.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
Because then you're
And
gonna
then it
reduce
lights the entire
shadows on the
space.
face, right? It's gonna just look very
Hmm.
natural. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool. And then like because you have such like a large face of the house doing it, and then the mobility of your flash, I imagine you can get much more candid stuff of people at a party as opposed to having it feel very posed to get lighting just right.
And not only candids, but candids that feel like studio portraits.
Oh, that's what
Yeah,
people want. That's the dream. That's awesome.
yeah,
Oh, that's so cool.
it's really fun.
How'd you figure out how to do that? Because like that's a great idea. Like how many like did it take just a lot of trial and error? Or, like were you at one specific party where you were like, we're gonna do that, and then it just ended up working?
It actually, let's see, when did I solidify the technique? I really got it down when one day I showed up to a client's event and I didn't have my flash battery. It was one
Oh
of the
no.
most terrifying, embarrassing moments I've ever experienced. But I had a flash in my car, like a full size studio flash
Yeah.
that was battery powered. So I said, okay, they've got these dinky little lights. I can shoot at f1.4 for some really natural looking shots just with the available light, and that'll look good. But there's too much shallow depth of field for me to really pinpoint groups and things like that. So then I thought, oh, this wall is white. If I shoot it at just the right angle, it's going to fill up the entire space. And every bit of action was kind of facing towards the house because they had put all the food tables in it and everything near the wall. So if I was turned towards them, the lights bouncing off the house into their faces, or this really beautiful side light that made it look super cinematic. And I went,
Yeah.
hold up, I'm gonna do this at every event. Like it does, I don't need to wait for there to be an opportunity where there's like a disaster. It's like, no, this is my style now.
That's
And
awesome.
I got it from wedding photographers. They'll
Oh.
do that constantly, especially the dance floor scene. They'll always have like a hair light or some blue gel or something shooting into the room, which backlights everybody, and then the flash on top. And that you see it at Indian weddings a lot. These extravagant colors and white floors and ornaments, and these guys are lighting the place up like it is a film set.
That's awesome.
Um, yeah, so it's like a mini version of
That's fantastic. And yeah, just giving you that flexibility to get candids of people where they're kind of lit well from all different directions. I mean, that's just,
that. Hmm.
I've been to so many weddings that didn't, like just as a guest, not as a photographer, where the pictures end up coming out looking like they were, well, yeah, you get the flash from only coming from the camera and not filling anything around. So it's very just angled on the, I don't know the photography terms, but it's just angled on the subject. Everything looks really sharp and like washed out, and
Hmm.
it's not a good look. So, oh, that's so cool. Like,
Yeah.
that's
For the
awesome.
learners out there, we call that flat lighting, where everything is overly lit. There's no shadow detail, and it just looks like flash.
Yeah, just it looks like an old school, like just like almost like a Polaroid or something, where it's just very that wow. Well, before we continue, because I do have tons of questions about
Oh
just
yeah, yeah.
other like creative endeavors and like the challenges of being a freelancer, but like, so where can
Mhm.
people listening who are already getting fired up about your awesome techniques and everything, where can they find you for like teaching besides your socials, which will all be linked in the episode below?
Um, Currently, if you're interested in learning photography, everything is on TikTok at Learn Photography TikTok. If you forget it, it's Learn Photography TikTok.
That is some smart TikTok marketing right there. I like it.
But no, I don't have another platform at the moment. TikTok is actually encouraging me to make a series. And any viewers, if you have questions about photography, send it to Josh, and I will gladly make a video and include it in the series.
Awesome. Well, yeah, and I'll jump on my TikTok and make a few that I can think of there with my very amateur photography because the most I know about lighting, I did get a crash course. I got hired on a movie as a production assistant, and then they
Mhm.
were like, it was a really small indie movie, so it's actually doing really well at festivals right now, which is awesome. But they were like, "Can you be our gaffer?" And I was like, "I do not have any training in that." And they're like, "You seem like you could pick it up." And I was like, "That's very generous of you."
Ah,
I was like, "As long as we go in with the express understanding that I do not know what I'm doing." And
right.
so we ended up. They brought me on. I mean, the director of photography had to pretty much hold my hand through the whole shoot, but that was kind of my very chaotic crash course into lighting. So I'll try to think of some stuff there, but what is have you done any like video? It sounds like you started out doing videography with YouTube, and now it's mostly still photography is your specialty. But I figure there's a lot of changing lighting techniques between the two mediums, right?
So I never really got the chance to experiment with lighting when I started off because I couldn't afford it. This was me with a Nikon D3100 sleeping on a friend's couch. That was the very beginning of my journey in LA. Um,
I feel like that's
I
the
have,
origin point for many artists. So
yeah,
yes.
but honestly, I haven't played with video very often. Every once in a while, someone will say, "Hey, can you be DP? Hey, can you light this?" And I love the challenge, but that's not my expertise. But what I can say is they are directly correlated. Doing video work and working with constant lights has actually taught me so much more about photography than just working with flash because you have an immediate visual of what it's supposed to be and then learning how to dial in your settings so that it actually represents what you see. um, I want to do more video. I do not want to edit. That is the part. Video editing, I respect everybody who can sit at a computer for 12 days,
Right.
not hours, days.
Yep. No, I am the same way. I love making the creative decisions that you get to make in editing, but the just kind of the repetitive or very tech heavy work, like even editing for this podcast, because I've been doing Dungeons and Dragons stuff too, where we'll have a long session we film over Zoom playing for like 3 hours, and then I've got to go through and cut out the parts that are just game related and keep the role playing. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm finally starting to get an efficient workflow, but it was a real slog for a while where I was like, this is not fun. So yes, I respect anyone who can do that because I also can't do the editing part, besides just surface level. So
Dude, you're killing it, and you're so organized in your approach. Like I attempted to do a podcast and I filmed everything, and there are 7 episodes. The idea of editing is so daunting. Oh my god, it's so much footage,
yeah,
and then
and it,
syncing
it
audio,
kept
and
us
then
for it kept us for a long time because I think for the first like 50 episodes, this will be episode 79, and we've done a few like specials, but for the first 50, it was we just didn't edit. We were like, well, if something weird happens, we're just gonna go with it. And so
right.
that saved a lot of time. But yeah, no, it's again like you said though, I went to YouTube and I was kind of hesitant at first to learn because I hadn't edited in so long, and so
Mm-hmm.
learning it again, there were a lot of, I saw videos that were like breaking down the software I use, which is DaVinci Resolve. And they were like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's great because it's free and like pretty much all the features are on the free version. I love it. But
Mhm.
I used, I think Sony Vegas back in the day when I kind of got into it, back when YouTube first started
Mm.
being a thing. And so, yeah, I found YouTube videos that were like an hour and a half. And then I found some that were just like 2 or 3 minutes telling me exactly what I needed. And it was like so much better.
Hmm.
What's been your favorite part about TikTok, like as a platform compared to other social medias?
So TikTok has been amazing. I I had a TikTok I started it in 2020.
Nice.
And just at the tail end of 2020, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get into my acting bag and really experience that. I got an agent, and the
Nice.
page sat there and did nothing. I made one post and I think it got like 70 views total. And I went, oh no, not for me. I'll stick to Instagram. So I ignored it all the way until top of end of 2021. TikTok headquarters hired me to do a Christmas photo shoot for them.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I was talking with them, and they're like, "Dude, do you even have a TikTok?" I just said no because I'm like, it's not really a thing yet. But I was making a video for TikTok as I was, shooting around. Like, oh my god, I'm at TikTok headquarters. I have to make my first TikTok video with them,
Yeah.
and that got me excited to know I even had a resource. And the way they described it, they were like, "This is a real community of real people. We hate bots. We're here to support people. We have sponsorship programs. Get involved now before it's too late." Within 3 months, I had gone from 100 some odd followers to 10,000 followers.
Whoa.
All real people, wasn't playing with ads, just making good content, particularly focused on teaching. And the response was overwhelming. And I did an A/B test where I would put some of the same content on Instagram and TikTok. It was staggering the difference. No one saw it on Instagram, they weren't even
Yeah.
visible. And on TikTok, if you have content that people are into, they will flood the market with it.
That's so cool. Like it's so counterintuitive because you'd think, hey, I'm a photographer. I want to show off what I'm doing. Instagram. But yeah, it's just I've recently been getting into TikTok too, and like I want to get as dialed in a niche as you have. I've kind of been a little all over the place, but I've just lately gotten so much more engagement than any other platform. So I've been really
Mhm.
spending more time on there and like learning what people want and how to like make sure I'm, anything that feels a little bit like sloppy in terms of the editing or the hashtags, like just learning to get that dialed in. And it's been the work's been rewarding. Stuff's coming back and it's really cool. So
So, and then moments like this, I have actually connected with so many people via TikTok, and it seems that the culture is people are eager to either meet in person, collaborate, or do something productive, and not just chat back and forth and like each other's contents. Like, let's build an empire together, and I
that's so
love
cool.
that.
Yeah. That's what I'm looking forward to moving back to LA in the near future because I moved back to Colorado for a little bit for a variety of reasons. But I'm excited
Mhm.
to get back because out here, you'll meet people who are also interested in creative stuff, but their focus is not ever on that. Whereas in LA and other artistic hubs throughout the country, and then on TikTok, where you get just the right group of people together, it's like people want to work and make stuff. And I
Yeah,
love to collaborate. It's so much fun.
yeah.
What are some of your goals for collaborating with art in the future? Like, what are some goals you want to manifest into the universe here on the podcast?
So we're gonna manifest this. I am going to shoot for a Vogue cover well
Yes,
before I'm dead.
yes,
It has to happen. And
that's
the
awesome.
collaboration focus right now is working with more organized, creative minded people who are willing to put together teams to
Mhm.
create one or two significant images.
Okay, and
Like I'm tired of just shooting high volume and working in uncertain circumstances. I want everything dialed in, and
yes,
someone creating a story with a very rigid idea of we want this specifically, because that's what brands need. They're like, they've got a team that says, we need something just like this. Who knows how to execute it? I want enough experience where it's not just he can make magic out of mud. No, he can make dreams come true out of what was already magic.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Because yeah, if you've already mastered going to events and they're kind of like, can you give us something out of the chaos that is this separate thing, and you're kind of extracting images from it. Like if you have a dedicated like team and resources to be like, what are we going to build, and then building it together. I love that.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
cool. And so, as someone who doesn't really work in like photography, like for images like that, you mentioned like for a brand or like a company, like when you're working really hard to create one or two really significant images, like what are the places that those images go? Is it going to be mainly in advertising or like album covers? Like what are the kind of different projects those could lead into?
Oh, they go everywhere. I've done images like that for real estate firms. I've done that for a hair care company called the Twisted Up Comb. I have done that for actors, musicians, the Los Angeles Country Club,
Wow,
um, doing their food photography, and those were for rebranding their website.
very cool.
And gosh, I mean, anyone who has a business with a clear vision.
There you go.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, and really quick, I don't know why my ADHD is a little bit heavy tonight, but you mentioned getting started with concert photography. I'd
Yeah.
imagine that that would present a really unique set of challenges because kind of the light of the performance and all the different lighting effects are going to be their main focus. Like, as a photographer, how do you work around kind of that chaos there and get good images of the performers and the crowd?
So that taught me something really significant, that image quality and perfect lighting are never what the viewer cares about. Most people care about emotionally compelling content. So all I focused on, aside from exposing an image well, was finding those peak emotional moments from the entire band, from the audience, from each individual band member, and then from different perspectives of each of those moments. Uh, the reason the different perspectives was really important is one, higher creativity, and then two, as a musician, I would hire people to shoot me. This is actually, if anyone's into shooting for bands or content for musicians, really hear this. Um, Musicians need constant promo. And if you shoot, say, the lead singer, and you're standing a little bit off to the side to the left of them, and you just shoot from there, they can only use 2 of those photos ever again because their viewership is going to be like, I've seen this image 1,000 times. It's the same angle, same thing, same moment. So you take it from the left, you take it from the right, you take it under, you take a close up of just their hands or their guitar, their feet, the pedals, a wide shot of the room so they can further promote and say, hey, this is the kind of draw we have. You get people's faces so they can tell stories of like, oh, last night we performed in Colorado and the emotional impact was this. And then you have an image to say that. And then you get some behind the band for the band's memories. Like, remember when we did this? Oh, what was our venue setup? How did we set up on the stage? Where were the amps? Where was this? Where was that? And you can capture the entire story for all of their marketing needs, their personal memories, for their fans to have images. And then even if they do merch or something, then you have materials that are clothing worthy, that are cup and mug worthy, you name it.
I never thought of all of those variables. That is so cool.
Mhm.
And that makes so much sense. Ah, well, if anyone's watching this and they have a band, freaking hire Sheldon because that is awesome. You just met so many needs by just showing up to their show, bringing your equipment and your expertise. You can meet so many needs for the band in so many
Mhm.
ways. That is an incredible value to an artist. That's so cool.
Mhm.
That's amazing. Well, and if anyone's fast forwarding or jumping around to the podcast, again, I got to mention your website, Sheldon Botler, BOTLER.com. They can contact you on there. They can hire you. They can see all your cool work. That is so cool. Like, I want to hear, like, what are some more fun stories of just like fun moments that happened while you were on different events or different photo shoots? Like, what are some of your highlights so far in your really successful career?
One of my personal highlights was being flown to Switzerland to shoot a wedding. And it
What?
came from here's why it was such a highlight because it wasn't even about the Switzerland trip. It was about everything that led up to that moment. In the photography community, we often have a struggle saying yes to lower paying gigs and these smaller moments where people are promising, like, oh, I promise something will come of it. I'll tell all my friends, you name it. And I started off once again shooting concerts for this group of students. And each one of them would pass me to the next one when they graduated or when they needed promo, you name it. And I had shot within that community so often, sometimes at a discounted rate, sometimes for free, you name it, that my name was the name that you go to. It's like, oh, you go to Sheldon. And when it came wedding time for this particular couple, we had built a bond and a friendship. They had seen me work with others before I'd shot them. And they said, we want to fly you to another country to shoot this moment. And when I got there, it really solidified what I love about this job. I get to create art, build community, be a part of people's most significant family moments, oftentimes, and then also be able to sustain myself while doing that. And
That's so cool.
all of those moments, those are what really drive me. Like there's a group of Persian and Irani Jewish families that have now kind of taken me in over the last 6 years. And every bris, every 40th and 50th birthday, every Torah reading, you name it, I'm there. And it's trippy to me because I'm documenting human history. Like this is one thing I love about the Jewish community is like they're the ones I've met are very good about keeping their family documents and history intact. And from a historical standpoint, I love seeing that. I love being a part of that because I know somewhere down the line, hundreds of years from now, someone's gonna, oh, Dr. Shmulian blah, 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 and his family, and here's a portrait that artist Sheldon Botler took, and it's gonna be in a book somewhere. And I
That's
got to
so
be there for
cool.
that because those are private moments. If you're
Yeah.
not family, you're not there. And for me to be this random American black guy in their mansion is a trip.
That's so cool.
Another significant moment from being very bold, I had shot with a client and was very diligent about, hey, tell your friends.
Yeah.
Uh, so they told one of the departments at USC that a friend of theirs worked for, who then hired me to shoot their staff. The staff were like, oh my God, we love you, and hired me to shoot the director of intelligence for Biden's administration
Whoa.
in a private event that she was doing on campus. I was the only person who was allowed, aside from her handler and the person she was speaking with, to be in that room with her privately, taking pictures of her, talking to her, like literally just hanging out.
Wow, that is
Yeah,
so cool. So you get all
yeah,
these just wildlife experiences that if you weren't creating this art, you wouldn't get to have. That's
never,
so cool.
never.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
awesome. Well, I'm sure. I mean, you're getting me motivated about my creative endeavors, and I'm sure everyone who's going to listen to this too, because like getting to create art you care about and having awesome, fulfilling life experiences and meeting your needs while you do it—that's like the dream. That's amazing.
mhm,
That is so
yeah.
cool.
Actually,
That is so
can
cool.
I share one extra story?
Please do, yeah.
So while I'm speaking with her and this professor that worked at USC, or sorry, while I was in the room taking pictures, they're talking about racial inequality and like really including more people in what the CIA does in general, um, generally speaking, throughout the United States, getting people more involved in different opportunities, especially people who are impoverished or people of color. And I'm standing there going, my mom raised me mostly by herself. I remember there was a brief point where we were on food stamps. We were living in a relatively low income apartment in the Central District in Seattle. And I wasn't balling by any means. I wasn't poor, but I was not in position to do a lot of things that I've done in life. Like by any statistic, I shouldn't have been what I was doing. And I remember hearing, watching them have this conversation and going, that's me and a lot of my friends that you're talking about right now. I'm here, but that was not the case growing up. I was not supposed to be in this room by any stretch of the imagination. So I had this bold moment where I just stopped them mid their conversation, which is technically kind of rude. And I said, pardon me, but those people that you're talking about is actually me. And I'm realizing the historical significance of me being in this room with the opportunity to shoot you. Can I take a group photo of the three of you? And she was like, absolutely.
That's
And
awesome.
you look back at these books sometimes where you'll see a photographer that publishes a book like, here's a picture of Obama in his office, and I just happened to be there. Or, whatever the event was. And you go, how did you get to be in that room? Well, I had a choice to make in that moment. I could just be there and be humble about it, or I could document not only what was happening, but a piece of my history. Like, let it be known that I was in that room and I took that picture. And then people will look back into my history and go, who was this guy? Where did he grow up? What was his story? Shit, he got to be in there. Maybe I can.
Dude, you saw an opportunity, you took it. That is so
Yeah.
motivating. I got goosebumps, man. That's awesome. That's so cool. Like, oh, think how many more opportunities you're gonna have like that as you keep doing this kind of work. Just
Yeah.
being part of something so significant. Like that's you're building a legacy, man. That's so cool.
Just have to keep my P's and Q's. Um, Being a solo entrepreneur is a very emotional and personally challenging journey because it's just you.
Yeah.
Like I am the product. So it's not like when you buy a dented can of cola, you're mad at the can. You're like, oh, my can isn't right. But you're not dealing with a person. If I'm dented in any way, people are like, rah, how dare you be imperfect in any fucking way? And then my human side wants to go, rah. And I'm like, nope, can't do that. Can't, nope. I am the perfect can of soda. I'm perfect. And I have to speak perfectly. I have to execute perfectly. I have to be kind at all times, wise with my words, you name it. Because one foul slip up can burn 1,000 bridges. You never know who knows who or what they're connected to, and they could stop your entire career in a word.
That's such a good metaphor because like people don't realize that like yeah, if you have a dented can and you're mad at it, you're not going to give up on Coca-Cola. You're just mad at that one can, but you are the everything of your
Mm-hmm.
business. And so that's got to be daunting because it's like I've done jobs where I do customer service and someone can come in yelling and screaming and upset, but it's not. I mean, they'll direct it at me, but I know it's about their experience with the company, so I can really shield it and be like, "Hey, that sounds really upsetting. Let me help you." But like, there's that disconnect from me So my skin didn't need to be as thick dealing with an upset customer, but it's all you. I didn't even, yeah,
Yeah.
so that's a whole nother thing you can teach people besides your awesome photography skills of like your business skills of like, how do you deal with someone's upset about something that they might misunderstand what you're doing to get them a good product and they take it out on you immediately?
Hmm.
Like, how do you deal with
Yeah.
something like that?
So daily practices to get balanced are really helpful. I play tennis as often as humanly possible. One, it gets me moving, which reduces stress. Two, I'm constantly problem solving and dealing with my own emotional stressors, like in my head. When you get a bad serve or when you fail your teammate or whatever, there's so much going on internally, but you have to keep playing the game and you have to play at the same level or better. You can never crash because then you lose the game. And I'm starting to see photography as the same thing. Cool. You took a bad serve, you made a bad call, what have you. And now the other team is going, hey, that was in. And you're going, I have two choices. Three, I can accept what they say and just go on about my business. I can argue with them, or I can try to find a peaceful resolution, which in tennis is, can we redo? Since neither of us can find the call, let's just redo this moment. Um, with photography, it's rare that I mess up in any possible way, but the stakes are getting so high that if I make any kind of slip up, if it's a late delivery, if it's the images didn't turn out exactly to someone's liking, I have to make it about not me and an attack on my character or my skills, but just about how do I make this better for you personally? Because I'm making soda cans and you didn't like one of the cans. So what can I do to get you another can or fix it? Or can I cool the can? Like, what can I do with this can? And that takes it away from me. I have to remind myself they're not mad at me. They're just looking at the image and going, I wanted something to look like this. And I go, this is just technology. We can take that photo again. We can move some lights around. We can, if you want something edited differently, it's just Photoshop. I can reset the entire image and start over. That's fine. And realizing that I'm of service to people. I am helping make dreams come true. I'm helping brands to tell their story. I am, by doing so, helping other people, and I want to be a part of that journey. Um, so I embed myself into the team, and I treat myself as if I worked for their company. And anything that is short of what will get the mission fulfilled, I take it on as like, hey, I signed up to be a part of this changing experience for other people. What can I do to make sure they get it? That makes it so much easier. And people tend to respond very well to that. Anytime I take it personally or get any kind of mildly snippy, it's just not even worth it. It leaves the other person feeling icky. It leaves me feeling out of integrity. And then I never get that client again, and my pockets go, what the fuck are you doing out there? Hey, we have a bank to fill. We've got bills to pay. Shut your mouth.
But no, I mean everything you just said is so spot on, and like it's really what separates you as a professional from people who are here just for the art. Like someone I'm sure can be just as interested in the art as you are, but you're here to make art, but also to deliver it to other people to be part of their initiative, whether that's documenting family moments, business, all of it. And you're
Mhm.
treating it like it's something even higher than art, where it's this thing that you're helping create and it's your business. And like that's what makes you a professional as opposed to someone doing this just for fun, is like you're there to
Mhm.
work, and if the client doesn't like something, it sounds like you're going to be like, all right, like how do we make it what you want? Let's work as a team. And I love that. That's
Mhm.
so cool. And that's
Now there are some circumstances where a client will ask for something very specific. We'll have a consultation about it, and I deliver exactly that. And then they go, I want something else. Now at that point, as a business person, I
right.
have I have a conflict there. And I'm sure some of you, if you're photographers, you've maybe dealt with this. If it's reasonable to make it better, make it better or change it or whatever. Because it's not even better. If you delivered what they wanted, it's like, I gave you what you wanted.
Yep.
Um, and if there's a way to resolve that and it's no skin off your back, like handle it. Or you can take the stance of, I, to the T and a little bit more, delivered exactly what you wanted. If you'd like something else, you can pay for that.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a restaurant. If I make you the plate and it's delicious and all you wanted was like, I actually didn't want it, but you ate half the plate. It's like, well, sorry, I'm not making you another plate. I'm charging you for another plate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's so daunting because, like, as a freelance writer and stuff, where it's like you have to set boundaries, but it always feels like the impetus is on us to really like go above and beyond for the client. So that's really good that you're setting boundaries in certain places and looking for ways to go above and beyond, but also ways to say, "Hey, this is what we talked about. This is what was fulfilled on my end. How do you want to do it?" You know? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Oh, it's daunting, but like, like, okay, so if someone was coming to you and saying, "Hey, I'm not a photographer, Sheldon, but I've got an idea for a small business that's freelance," what advice would you give them just on the business side of things?
This person has not started at all. They
No,
just have an idea.
for the for the sake of podcast, yeah, they just have an idea.
Ooh, that's a tricky one. Okay.
Or
I would start with
if they've started and they're like, "Hey, I've done a few things here and there that have kind of happened, and I want to work towards making this my full-time, like, sustaining
yeah.
thing." I guess how would you get them from kind of excited starting out amateur essentially to getting to be professional?
Okay. This is a great question. First off, I would take everything that you do and boil it down into 5 consistent products that you can replicate every time. Say you actually drawing, portrait art is a great example.
Okay.
So you make portraits and you've got 16 different styles of art that you can make. And then you decide, I want to do this as a business. I would pick 3 that you know you can do every time with a static price. That way, you can pitch this product to any and everyone and get people who need that. You don't have to customize, you don't have to change anything, and it makes it easy for you to start generating income to then do the more complicated, customizable projects where the pricing varies and the number of resources you need are all over the place. But if you start off with everything being custom and there's no certainty about any portion of the product, you'll find that customers are often confused because they don't know what you provide, how the process works to get it, and then the price is changing every time. And that also becomes confusing because if they want to tell their friends, oh, it costs this much to get this product, they don't have that to work with. But when you have static products, it's like, this type of portrait is 40 bucks every time you will get a result that looks like this, then they can get excited about that and go, oh, girl, for 40 bucks, you can get this.
That's
And then
awesome.
over time, as you get better, you raise it up until you're, charging $600 per similar thing. But now you can do it faster. You're doing it with better quality materials. It's paying your bills. And now you have the freedom to do these other things. Photographers, same thing. You've got a camera. You could shoot real estate. You could shoot headshots. You could shoot baby portraits. You could shoot food. You could shoot a lake, print it, and sell that picture. But if you want to make consistent income, you need something you can do consistently for a consistent number of people.
That make that that is such good advice for freelance business. Like, I'm thinking of all of my little side gigs, and I'm like, Sheldon's a genius. I've got to do that for all of mine. That's so good because then that totally makes sense. If you have a baseline of 3 products that you can deliver with consistency, static pricing, that helps your word of mouth so much. And then
Mhm.
as people say, like, wow, I really like how that turned out. Do you do other styles? You can be like, well, if we're
Right.
talking customizing, like, let's talk and make something cool now. Once you kind of get just the base clientele and start looking at the people who want to collaborate and really work with you on cool stuff, that is really good advice.
Yeah.
I'm
Actually,
excited, and our listeners are gonna love it. This is so cool. I love this.
there's one project that I literally got offered last night where they want 6 months worth of content.
Whoa.
And I'm going to have to have over the next day or two, I have to customize a pitch for this company
Yeah,
because that's going to be huge.
that's awesome.
Whew,
Congrats, man. That's so cool.
whew, I've got to find all the models and locations and everything and price this all together and make it make sense for the client.
That's exciting though. I mean, that's one of those big custom jobs where you're like, this is, and it's gonna look so great on your portfolio afterwards to be like, see what I can do. Like, oh, that's awesome,
Yeah,
man. That
yeah.
is so cool. That is so cool. I'm trying to. I mean, you've given so much good advice for our listeners. I'm trying to think what note to end on because this has been such a good interview, man. I love how well you're doing. I mean, first off, everyone go follow the TikTok. It was how to learn photography. I'm misremembering.
Learn photography, TikTok.
Perfect. Learn photography TikTok. Everyone needs to
Hmm.
go and search that if you want to learn photography, and then follow it just to learn about good business practices. Like, I'm not a photographer, but I've learned a ton already for my side gigs as a writer. Oh, this is awesome, dude. This is so helpful. Like, I love it.
Yay!
Yeah. And then sheldonbotler.com for the website. Botler. So awesome.
Hmm.
I
Thank
gotta
you
ask,
so much, man.
of course, do you do cat portraits?
I don't actually animal photography. I haven't gotten into it, but it's so lucrative. Oh my
Really?
god! So for print and fine art purposes, amazing. For commercial ad work, people who know how to work with and pose animals and create really enticing art with them, those guys make bank.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
I was gonna say
And it's such a
eventually I got.
niche market,
Oh, I bet. Yeah,
you
I've got
know.
two new kittens. I don't want to think of some way to, get photographs of them in like a year when they're fully grown. So that's
Oh,
that's
fun!
awesome. They're around here making noise now. They can tell that they're like,
Hi,
you've ignored
Bevies.
us for half an hour. They're yeah. So, oh, that's so cool. What are I just out of curiosity, like, what are some other photography niches that have like really weird adjacent skill sets? Like, I figure with the animal ones, you have to understand different like triggers for certain animals or how to calm them down and then how to kind of get certain reactions for them. What are some other very unique like like subgenres of photography that are out there?
One that's really funky is shooting microscopic objects
Oh,
in an artistic way and usually selling those as prints. Uh, Another
interesting.
really thing is marine research photography.
Oh, yeah, you get
That's
a lot of
something
weird
that,
variables underwater, I
oh,
bet.
yeah. And then even lighting things underwater. Like if you're in murky water and you have to shoot something, even just for documentation purposes, to get clear detail, that's a set of skills that's absolutely incredible. And then composing with an animal or yeah, okay, we'll stick to marine life.
Yeah,
Composing with something that's entire life objective is to hide,
yeah.
that is so tough. And then not getting eaten on the way.
Right.
Like
That'd be my biggest fear.
safety measures alone.
I don't work underwater. That's that's I will never do work underwater. That's a
Yeah,
deal breaker for me.
yeah.
I got hurt
Um,
trying to go kayaking in the ocean once, and I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm out. No more ocean for
right. I think my worst ocean moment was I was showing off for a girl and I ran into the ocean and got pinned in the foot by a stingray, just
Whoa!
pierced right through the bottom of my foot.
Oh
I've
no!
never felt such nauseating nerve pain ever. And
Oh
it's
no!
slow, like the poison slowly goes into your bloodstream and just travels up
Oh,
and up and up and up and
like
up and up.
you can feel it moving through your
Yeah,
veins.
you can feel it moving from point A all the way up. And wherever it's touching, it's painful from wherever it started up through that line and it starts to branch out.
Whoa!
But it made it up to my knee within like a 40-minute period. Because at first I didn't know what was going on. I was like, okay, I stepped on some glass. Ow, that's painful. But then my whole foot started hurting, and then up to my ankle, and then up midway, and I went, oh, something's wrong.
Yeah. Oh, that's ugh.
And the easiest solution, hot water.
Really. Oh, I
You,
guess that would like relax the capillaries and let it kind of drain almost, or
so the poison that sting. Hey, here's another lesson for you guys.
life lessons now. When you get stung by a stingray.
Interesting fact. You submerge the affected area in near boiling water.
Okay.
like right where your body can still handle it, but it won't hurt you,
Yeah.
and it breaks down whatever that protein is. Like the poison that's
Oh,
injected into you, it just separates, falls apart, is neutralized by that level of heat, and
wow.
that's it.
So was
The
the
only
relief
thing,
almost instantaneous from the poison?
pretty much.
Wow.
And then the only reason you'd need to go to an emergency room in a situation like mine is if a piece of the barb broke off in you and could cause an infection.
That makes sense.
So I went, got it checked out, and actually the hospital just dropped the charges entirely. They're like, yeah, it's fine. It happens all the time. Just you're fine. But
Wow.
they almost charged me, was it 2,000 something dollars for an ibuprofen and a CAT scan?
That is borderline criminal. No, not borderline. That is criminal. I'm glad those were dropped because that is an affront to nature. That's awful.
Selfishly, I'm gonna say it's not criminal. I hope to sell $2,000 portraits someday.
Well, you're providing something that is worth $2,000. I mean, a pill of ibuprofen and like a scan for a machine that's already built. It's worth something, but it's not worth $2,000. You know.
I don't know, because if there was something in there, that scan could have been the difference between me being alive and dead.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just saying like for the cost of them setting up that machine and
Right,
like
right, right, right.
upkeep and then the person doing it. I mean, if they were going to charge you for the CAT scan and an ibuprofen, I don't know, a couple $100, fine, but
Right,
2,000 is
right, right.
that's oof, that hurts.
I wonder how much those machines cost. I
I,
wonder if they're in the like millions just for like one of them, or like 500,000 for one machine kind of thing. I wonder.
no, a CAT scan, that's like the big one where they like put the dye in
Yeah,
your
put you in
veins
the
and then you go
tube.
inside.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm just guessing. I have zero expertise in this field. I would guess that they'd be somewhere between 100K and like a quarter million.
I'm such a okay. I'm gonna have a nerd moment. How
Nerds
much
and friends, you
is
are on the right podcast.
a CAT scan machine? We're gonna Google this. All right,
So
people,
curious.
we are ready to find out. Oh wow, that is relatively expensive, inexpensive. From 175,000 to 700,000 for a new one.
Okay.
That's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, for the amount it can be reused, I figure the
Oh, oh,
oh, is there a big
oh,
caveat there?
oh. A micro CT scanner can cost from 200K to 2 million for one machine. And then if you have a hospital with 7 of those,
Okay, okay,
eh, eh,
okay.
eh.
I rescind my comment on the $2,000 charge. That is
We're learning about stingrays and cost for medical machinery,
let's
which
talk
also take pictures.
astrophysics next.
Yo, that is another form of photography as well that people
Medical
often
photography.
overlook.
Oh, because you've got
Photo
to get
scanning.
oh, scanning, yeah.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, because I mean you can even do like X-ray, like different wavelengths than just visible light.
That is a
Wow,
form of photography. Yep.
I did not think of that.
Yep.
Now my
There's a
brain is
niche.
just oh wow, that is a niche, all right. That's
And
wow.
Nikon is actually famous for providing medical equipment.
Really, I did not know
Oh yeah.
that.
Oh, they're huge. Yeah.
I mean, X-rays, CT scans, maybe MRIs. I can see how that would all fit under the similar realm of what they provide and manufacture.
Hmm.
Wow,
Cameras for things that go into your body and tubes and all those things.
I had one of those recently. That was not a pleasant experience, but I'm glad the technology exists.
Right.
So, wow, that is, yeah. I guess I didn't think about till this podcast about how many different types of really particular and applicable photography styles there are. Wow,
Hmm.
that is
Oh,
fascinating.
and then space photography.
That's one I do think I'm a big space nerd, so I do read about like I guess I didn't in my brain loop them in with photography, but like the people who analyze different like spectrums of wavelengths and like radio and like radiation photography. Yeah, I guess that's all.
Or even just like Hubble telescope photos.
Yeah, yeah. I tried photographing the lunar eclipse this last weekend, and
Yeah.
I realized I was like it would take a lot more than me with my iPhone and a pair of eclipse glasses to photograph this. It was
How was that eclipse? I kept hearing about it. And they're like the sun and the fire. And was it as epic
it
as
was
we wanted it to be?
I'm glad I watched it. It was cool. It was actually so I mean, part of the euphoria around it was that I paired it with a visit to some old friends, so we had a great time hanging out,
Mm-hmm.
for the weekend. So that was super nice. But like for me, so with this one, it kind of formed that ring of fire, which was really cool. But like to look at it safely, I had to wear such like glasses that would really restrict my eyes from getting damaged. So I could really just see the ring of the sun, and I had to remind myself that the dot in the middle was the moon. So it's a little bit hard to conceptualize, but it was actually cooler, in my opinion, to take the glasses off because then it looked almost like early morning or sundown, even though it was like almost noon. And then just the way the
Mm,
temperature changed very suddenly, and the shadows were weird, and like animals were acting differently. So like kind of the environment around it was the coolest for me, not so much the actual visual
mm.
itself. So
Yeah,
yeah, so it was a neat experience. So it was cool.
that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a 6 hour drive down to Albuquerque, and I stayed with my old college roommate for the weekend, so it was nice.
Oh my God, I bet the stars were amazing out there.
I mean, he lives in the city, so actually, because I had to work, I drove down,
Oh
stayed
yeah.
one night, and then drove up, and so I didn't get to do much stargazing. But I need
Mm.
to, because actually, the best stargazing I did was when I was in the army. I had to do a weekend at Fort Guernsey, Wyoming, which during the day is the worst, but at night the stars were amazing. So I need to go do more of that. So.
Oh, road trip to Wyoming. Put that on the list.
Oh yeah, I could even go east to Kansas and just get. I mean, that's a cool thing is like if you have even a small telescope, you can still get some really cool images just to see. And well, nowadays
Yeah,
with cell phones, though, I've seen somewhere if you get a 4 or 8 times magnification, you can do some decent planetary photography with a phone, which is mind
yeah,
blowing. But
yeah.
yeah, I love thinking of like, okay, this little thing in my hand is photographing something millions of miles away. Like that's just, I love it.
I wonder if some of the older staff at NASA hold a phone and go, "Oh my God, how far have we come?"
I bet. I mean, like the first lunar landings, they didn't have. I think the amount of computing power they had was like less than what a Game Boy has.
Yeah,
Like it's like it's insane. Or like I think the N64 I had growing up had like I think they had only 16-bit on the first lunar missions for NASA.
oh my God.
Yeah,
Well,
I know,
that's gonna
right?
be
It hurts
no,
to think about.
that's gonna be a thing if it's not already. Someone making a reel of like, "Hey, today we're on the moon," and like, check this out.
You're right.
Here's me.
It could be within our lifetime easily.
Oh
I
my
mean, because
God,
I've
like,
seen reels from like the International Space Station, so why not?
yeah.
Why not the moon? So
Oh my
it's crazy.
goodness.
It's crazy. I'm really curious about if we're ever going to try to colonize Mars, just because the radiation outside of Earth's magnetic field is that's the biggest variable I think from
Mhm.
my amateur science studies is going to be the radiation. But it would be cool to see those photographs. I
Yeah.
saw one recently that just came out from an object that's like past Pluto, like a little like it's not an asteroid, it's like two kind of comet things that came together. And I was surprised how quality the images were for being so far from the sun and being in such low light. Because it almost
Mhm.
looks like it's snowing, but in the video they broke down, it was like, I mean, it's really just like a series of still images that gives kind of the illusion of motion, but it was just the dust was reflecting because it was kind of like a kind of reflective dust. And I was surprised it got so much, picked up so much for this tiny little lander, past Pluto, like so far from the sun. So that was fascinating. But
That's insane.
it is. I just,
You just opened my eyes to a something that I hadn't considered. Low light photography to an extreme degree.
yeah, it's, oh man, it's fascinating. I can,
One lumen.
right.
Golly.
And then the space requirements too of whatever you're capturing it on has to be so tiny and transmittable over such a long distance.
Yeah.
I don't know how the Voyager probe's still working. That was launched in the 70s and it's still transmitting from past the
Yeah.
Kuiper belt. It's insane. I don't. It's wild.
Well, if anyone's interested in photography, there's another field you can get into.
There you go. There you go.
You may have to learn a little bit of physics along the way, but yes.
That wow. Well, dude, thank you so much for your time. I'm so glad this worked because yesterday we had tech issues, but this has been like one of the nerdiest nerds and friends we've had in a while. This is
Yes.
fantastic. Dude, we nerded
Yeah.
hard. We covered, I mean, we talked about photography, we talked about how you're helping people build memories, legacy being part of all these cool things, talked about how to be a good freelancer and like go from being an amateur to a pro, talked about what to do if you get a stingray in the foot. That is important. And then we learned about the medical field, I guess what would we call it? Niche photography, specialized
Yeah.
photography. Oh man,
And
that's
then
so
we ended in outer space.
love it.
Just peak beautiful nerddom at
That's
its finest.
this is perfect nerddom, dude.
Yes.
This is awesome. Thank you so much. Again, everyone listening, check out all of Sheldon's stuff. It'll be in the description of this podcast, whether you watched or listened. Sheldon, we got to have you back on another time. This was so fun. I keep saying Will, my co-host. I keep saying we, my co-hosts weren't available tonight, but dude, this was so fun. You got to meet them. We can geek out even more about stuff. I love it.
Yes.
I love it. Well,
Dude,
thank you
thank
so
you
much.
so much. This was amazing.
Yeah, this was great. Oh, this was so much fun, dude.